For the first time in 6 days, a dip in the overall India cases, deaths also today. But guess what? The testing has also dropped. First oxygen, now Delhi's battle for beds. Patients die outside New Sardar Patel Centre. No ICU beds at Apollo. Leaves family attacking doctors and nurses. Pandemic is on. People are dying, but 20,000 crore Central Vista seems like a priority, as that has been called essential service and the work there continues even in the lockdown. World is getting together to send help to India. Prime Minister Modi and Joe Biden have a conversation. The massive US aid begins. US AstraZeneca vaccine to be sent to India as well. And day after the Madras High Court wrap, the Election Commissioner bans victory rallies and also mentions that ensuring COVID protocol will be the state's responsibility. Despite that order, look at these pictures. Amid the surge in cases, this is what is happening in Warangal, the municipal corporation elections in Telangana, and those municipal corporation elections in other states as well, including UP. And this shadi in a PPE suit, the groom was positive. Yes, they simply could not wait. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Let's begin with the numbers tonight. For the 6th straight day, India has reported over 3 lakh cases. But many thought that, well, is there finally a dip? Because there was a drop in cases finally today for the first time. And a drop of at least 29,800 cases, lower than the day before. Now, drop in the number of deaths as well. But guess what? It's not just these figures that you have to look at. If you look at the testing figures, they have also come down. Testing at the moment has come dramatically down, as this graph tells you. As on the 24th, it was about 17 lakhs. On the 25th, it came down to 14 lakhs. And on the 26th, to roughly about 16.58 lakh. The other figures at the moment, most impacted states, Maharashtra at the moment at 48,700, Uttar Pradesh close second at 33,551 cases. All this in a single day, remember. Karnataka 29,744. We've put in the test there as well for you to get a perspective. Kerala then at number 4 over there at 21,890, Delhi at about over 20,000, Rajasthan over 16,000 as well. And if you thought this is just how the country is looking like, well, internationally also, India doing so much more worse. India at the moment is reporting several lakh more cases compared to the United States, compared to even other countries which were much higher above us, more than Turkey, more than Brazil, more than Russia as well. And daily deaths, if you look at that, well, India leading the chart there as well. India has reported over 2,700 deaths, more than Brazil, more than United States, more than France, and more than Turkey. And these are the reported numbers, remember, and irrespective of those numbers, the reality on the ground, much, much worse. Let's bring you a news report from Kanpur in Uttar Pradesh, where irrespective of religion, age or faith, COVID's death toll continues to rise. In Kanpur, UP, the bodies kept coming in at the cremation ground and the burial grounds as well. The rising numbers, a stark reminder of the tragedy, also a reminder that perhaps the numbers that are being reported by the government are extremely underrated.
Through the nights, the pyres burn, the flames piercing the dark sky. In this Kanpur crematorium, as COVID takes its deathly toll, a never-ending day and an endless nightmare for relatives.
अब रात तक कंप्यूटर 40 बॉडी आ चुकी है। आपका नंबर? मेरा नंबर 23 है, जो कि अभी तक नहीं आया। अवस्था यहाँ व्यवस्था सही नहीं है। जो चाह रहा अपनी बॉडी पैसे दे करके आगे करवा लेगा। उनका नंबर है, उनका नंबर नहीं आता।
According to the records at Kanpur's Bhairav Ghat and Bhagwat Ghat electric crematoria, last rites were performed on 528 bodies of COVID victims from April 20th till the afternoon of April 26th. The figures do not include those who were cremated in the traditional manner on wooden pyres.
की बॉडी है आपकी कल शाम की, क्या वो नंबर नहीं दिया? अभी नंबर नहीं दिया, अब लेके गए हैं शमशान घाट को। जब कहने सुनने पे वहाँ 8 बजे बुलाया था तो 10 बजे बॉडी आई थी।
There are 35 Muslim graveyards in Kanpur. There are a dozen burial grounds in Chunniganj itself. Lavaris Mayat Intizamiya Society, an organization which deals with unclaimed bodies, says deaths have increased in the last few days.
10 निकल रही है, 12 निकल रही है। जब इस रोड से 10-12 मिट्टियाँ निकल रही हैं तो और भी रोड है, जैसे चमनगंज नाला रोड है।
There are 4 cemeteries in Kanpur. Given that Christians constitute 2.03% of the population, the number of deaths would comparatively be lower. But in Kanpur cemetery, the number of dead is on the rise. In the Chunniganj cemetery, 10 to 12 bodies were usually brought in a month. Those numbers are far higher now.
आपको बता दें भी 3 दिन पहले की बात बता दें, 14 मिट्टी लाशें डेड बॉडी ग्रेवयार्ड में पड़ी थी। हमारे पास मजदूर बीमार हो गए, कमज़ोर हो गए, चोटें लग गई। हमने बाहर से ठेके पे लेबर्स को बुलाकर 1:30 बजे रात तक ये डेड बॉडी गाड़ी है, जो कि इतिहास में पहली बार हुआ है।
किसी की कही सुनी बात गलत हो सकती है, कागज़ पे लिखे हुए आंकड़े गलत हो सकते हैं, लेकिन चिताएं गलत नहीं हो सकती हैं। चिताएं तो जल ही रही हैं। एक तकलीफदेह मंजर है। कानपुर में साहिब आलम अरुण अग्रवाल और राजेश गुप्ता के साथ कमाल खान, NDTV।
So that's the reality in Uttar Pradesh at the moment. Let's switch our focus to the national capital, where stories of desperation led to now almost a scuffle of sort broke outside the Apollo hospital. What happened? Let's tell you that first. At around 3 in the morning, there was a 67-year-old critical female who required ICU support. It was not available. The patient crashed waiting for her turn to even get inside the emergency. Now, when that happened, around 3 to 4 of her attendants then started attacking the doctors with blades. Apollo had to call in police to settle the matter. And desperations and stories of that were not limited to Apollo Hospital. In fact, outside several other centers as well, NDTV literally today was able to film, had no choice but to do so, of people collapsing in front of our eyes as they waited inside auto rickshaws to finally get their turn to get inside the hospital. That turn never came.
मेरी माँ, अब कहाँ ले जाओ उनको, ये तो बता दो। कहाँ ले जाओ, चले गेट ही नहीं खोल ले, 10 फॉर्मेलिटी बता रहे हैं, ये करो वो करो, क्या करे? देखा है नहीं, पहले फॉर्मेलिटी पूरी करो, मैसेज करो व्हाट्सएप करो, क्या करे? कौन से देख लिया ही बड़े बड़ा चिल्ला रहा पागलों की तरह खड़ा होके, देख लो भाई, देख लो।
28-year-old Mukul Vyas brought his 52-year-old COVID-positive mother Kiran in an auto and waited outside the Sardar Patel COVID Care Center for 3 hours. But he could not get a bed for her. She passed away in this auto. There are 500 COVID beds inside the center, but people are struggling to get an admission. Many who even got the DSO or District Surveillance Officer's reference for admission as per procedure also had to wait for 4 to 5 hours outside.
सुबह 10 बजे से खड़ा हूँ। हमारे बॉस ने, उनका जो मेड है, 2 का रजिस्ट्रेशन हो चुका है, लेकिन यहाँ से बोला जाता है कि अंदर से लिस्ट आएगी, अनाउंसमेंट करेंगे, जब आपको अंदर जाने दिया जाएगा। लेकिन 10 बजे से अभी तक ये टाइम आ गया कोई रिस्पॉन्स नहीं आया, ना हम पानी पी पा रहे हैं, ना कहीं खाना खाने।
There are no ICU or ventilator beds right now in the center, and people with oxygen levels below 85 are not allowed, leaving those like 40-year-old Surinder Sajwan waiting on the footpath.
सेंटर बना सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल, इसमें भी ये कह रहे हैं ना आईसीयू है, ना वेंटिलेटर है, ना कोई बेड है, कोई इंतजाम नहीं है, आप ले जाओ अपने पेशेंट को। मैडम 15-20 हॉस्पिटल हो गए हैं, कल से हम लोग ऐसी, ये सब ऐसी है मैडम। उन्होंने मुझे रिप्लाई भी दे दिया, आप कहीं और ले जाओ, हमारे पास बेड नहीं। हाँ जी, हाँ जी, उनके पास मेरे पास मेल है रिटर्न का, रिटर्न में आया, तो रिटर्न में लिख के दिया उन्होंने कि हमारे पास बेड नहीं है, आप कहीं और ले जाओ।
Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal today assured that more ICU beds are being set up across Delhi.
GTB हॉस्पिटल के सामने एक रामलीला मैदान है, वहाँ पे हम 500 ICU बेड्स तैयार कर रहे हैं। LNJP अस्पताल के सामने अपना जो मेन रामलीला मैदान है, वहाँ भी हम 500 ICU बेड्स तैयार कर रहे हैं, और राधा स्वामी सत्संग में हम 200 ICU बेड्स तैयार कर रहे हैं। तो ये 1200 ICU बेड्स गंभीर मरीजों की देखभाल के लिए, ये 1200 ICU बेड्स 10 मई तक बन के तैयार हो जाएंगे।
Authorities continue to assure that there will be more hospital beds and facilities in the upcoming days, but here on ground, families of patients are fighting a battle every day, and some lose their dear ones while waiting out on the roads. In New Delhi with camera person Pujaria, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
Let's take you some other news coming in at the moment from Allahabad High Court, which has now taken notice of a news item that came out in Uttar Pradesh that stated that 135 teachers, investigators, some called the Shikha Mitras in UP, who were assigned on election duty, have died. The Allahabad High Court sent a notice to the State Election Commission as well to explain why action should not be taken against its officials. Remember, not very long ago, Madras High Court had asked a similar question of the Election Commission as well. The Allahabad High Court also dismissed the plan placed by the UP government to try and curb the pandemic, saying that this just lip service is not going to work anymore. They want to see some concrete action on the ground. They said, and I quote from that order now, we make it clear that we will not tolerate any paperwork or public announcements to show account of steps taken and its sufficiency, as it is now not an open secret that government has gone complacent due to weakening of virus impact by the end of 2020 in the state. Adding that the government got more involved in other activities, including panchayat elections. Had it been constantly vigilant, it would have prepared itself to face the onslaught of the pandemic in the second wave. Posterity would never forgive us if we remain oblivious of the real public health issues and let the public die for want of adequate healthcare. Those in power must shun the attitude of my way or no way and should welcome suggestions from all quarters. Some strong words there going in from the Allahabad High Court to the State Election Commission. Meanwhile, despite those orders, despite people dying on the road, some dying at their homes, look at what's happening in some of the states where public rallies continue to happen. These are some pictures coming to us from the greater Warangal area, where the municipal corporation elections are on in full swing and gatherings also in full swings. In fact, when these pictures are floated by the BJP handle on Twitter, much criticism came their way, and now this image that you see, which was tweeted out by BJP in Telangana, has been brought down. After criticism online, BJP deleted all its tweets from the BJP Telangana account, both in English and in the local language as well. Meanwhile, the Election Commission has reacted to the order by the Madras High Court. The EC said that statements were attributed to Madras High Court and media do not find any mention of the court's final order. Well, also Election Commission has said that poll panel will follow court orders and inform the High Court on the steps taken for free, fair and safe election. Responsibility of states to ensure that COVID measures, despite the Election Commission directing authorities to do so, it's basically saying that it is the job of the state government to ensure that these protocols are followed. Also saying that poll panel has ordered no victory processions on counting day and only 2 persons will be allowed to accompany the winning candidate to receive a certificate from the poll official. Meanwhile, Bengaluru and Karnataka have begun a 2-week shutdown in bid to break the chain and slow the huge surge of cases in the state. Bengaluru has over 2 lakh active cases at the moment. Maya Sharma sent us this report just before the curfew got into place.
Karnataka getting all set for a 2-week lockdown that begins very, very shortly. Shops selling essential things can open between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. Medical shops will be permitted to open. Otherwise, public transport will be off the road. People can travel to and from the state by plane or by train using their ticket as a pass during the day. But otherwise, travel to Karnataka and from Karnataka and within the state itself is not permitted except for emergency purposes. Now, all this really necessitated by the huge spike in the number of cases in Karnataka and in Bengaluru. Bengaluru now has over 2 lakh active cases of COVID-19, stretching the health facilities. There are not enough ICU beds, not enough oxygen. People are really struggling to find treatment for their family members. Now, the construction activity is permitted, agricultural activity and manufacturing activity will go on, although garment factories are in fact shut. Restaurants will be closed. There will only be takeaway food and home delivery of food from restaurants. Banks and ATMs can function. Weddings cannot have more than 50 people attending. Only 5 people will be permitted at funerals. But vaccinations and testing can go on even during the shutdown. The government has made that clear. There will be no problem with that. So in a state seeing a huge increase in the number of cases, over 2 lakh cases in the city of Bengaluru, the shutdown seen as one way to break the chain, to give the health infrastructure some time to catch its breath and get ready to face the future. With Nandakumar, Maya Sharma in Bengaluru for NDTV.
And details have now emerged of the massive US COVID assistance package that India is going to be getting very soon, which is designed to immediately help in resolving the oxygen situation here in the country, besides the transfer of vaccine and raw materials as well for production of vaccines in India. What's more, the US will deploy a large team of healthcare experts to deal with the situation on the ground, so necessary at this point. And according to the senior administration officials, they will be doing so as soon as possible. We're going to slip into a break now. News continues on the other side. Now, Maharashtra remains a COVID hotspot with increasing deaths raising concern. Disturbing visuals have emerged now from overworked and stretched hospitals and cremation grounds, as well as from several districts of Maharashtra. Doctors say in many cases the virus is not being detected even in RT-PCR tests, and people are reaching hospitals just too late.
आखिरी तक मरते बोले मेरे को वेंटिलेटर लगाओ, लेकिन यहाँ के डॉक्टरों ने उनको जीते जी वेंटिलेटर नहीं लगाया.
Sarika Sahu at her husband's hospital bed soon after his death on Sunday, unable to come to terms with her loss.
इनकी हार्ट बीट्स रात से कम है, फिर भी कोई डॉक्टर आया नहीं इनको देखने के लिए. कल भी ऐसी रात को इनकी तबीयत खराब थी, जब भी किसी ने नहीं आया. मेरा यही बोलना है कि यहाँ के डॉक्टरों ने मेरे पति को मारे हैं. मैं ये डॉक्टर लोगों के खिलाफ में सबसे सख्त एक्शन लेने के लिए गवर्नमेंट से अपील करती हूँ.
As hospitals and medical staff are stretched, providing ventilator beds is often becoming a challenge. As teary-eyed Sarika Sahu grieves the loss of her husband, she blames his death on the delay in getting a ventilator bed. And doctors are often at the receiving end of this misdirected anger and grief.
मेरे बाद पेशेंट जब मर गया तो वेंटिलेटर लाके लगाए. ऐसे ही आके डॉक्टर है. मैं ये गवर्नमेंट से अपील करती हूँ कि इनको सजा मिलनी चाहिए.
Maharashtra has reported 4,460 deaths in the last 6 days, with a marginal drop in cases on Monday, which is usually attributed to lower number of tests on the weekend. There were 2,579 deaths in 7 days between April 13th and 19th. Deaths have increased by nearly 70% in the last 6 days. And with the increase in the number of deaths, another shocking image from Ambajogai in Beed district on Sunday. 22 bodies of deceased COVID patients taken for cremation in one ambulance, stacked on top of each other. The collector says the incident was unfortunate and an inquiry has been ordered. According to official statistics, on April 26th, Mumbai reported the highest number of deaths at 70. Aurangabad reported 58 deaths, Ahmednagar reported 41 deaths, Nagpur reported 38 deaths. Districts like Raigad, Panvel, Beed, Yavatmal, Nanded, Satara, Osmanabad and Latur have reported around 20 deaths each. And the worry is that deaths have also started increasing in smaller districts. A major problem, doctors say, is patients being COVID negative according to the RT-PCR test, but are suffering from COVID-like symptoms and reaching the hospital only at a severe stage.
काफ़ी पेशेंट्स ऐसे आ रहे हैं जिसका RT-PCR नेगेटिव आया है और वो लोग ठीक से ख्याल नहीं रख रहे थे, पर लेटर ऑन उनकी कंडीशन काफ़ी बिगड़ रही है और चीज़ें काफ़ी सिग्निफिकेंटली खराब हो रही है.
The increasing deaths is a worrying trend as the health system is already struggling to cope with the massive caseload. In Mumbai with Pooja Bhardwaj, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
And while those fires keep burning, look what is happening in the national capital. Even as the national capital is in lockdown, work continues for over 1,500 crore being spent in the new Parliament building and the making of the new Rajpath complex. Technically, construction work is permitted where workers have been given on-site accommodation. When NDTV did a spot check at the location, we found some of the workers coming from Kirti Nagar and adjoining areas as well.
Mandal from West Bengal seen here taking a short lunch break to help build India's new Parliament building. Across the pandemic hit Delhi, under the lockdown, there is an eerie silence, except here in the seat of power, where the government has granted permission for work to continue on the Modi government's prestige project to remake the iconic Central Vista. The government claims the exemption is because these projects have on-site accommodation for workers. But we found workers who are ferried in from elsewhere.
কি কাজ করছে?
पार्लियामेंट मिस्त्री करते हैं।
अच्छा, और कहाँ पे रहता है आप?
रहता हूँ कीर्ति नगर।
अच्छा, और काम करता है यहाँ पे?
हाँ।
ओके, और क्या काम करता है?
और थोड़ा थोड़ी ईंटा जोड़ाई कर रहा है।
आप बंगाल में कहाँ पे है?
बंगाल मालदा जिला।
अच्छा, और आप भी क्या काम करता है?
इसी के साथ में है सर।
अच्छा, तो सेम काम करता है। और कहाँ के रहने वाले हैं आप? यहाँ पे दिल्ली में कहाँ पे रहता है?
दिल्ली में कीर्ति नगर।
कौन टाटा ने ही किया गया आपको जगह?
The decision to go ahead with this 20,000 crore Central Vista project at a time when India and New Delhi are in the midst of a health emergency has sparked anger amongst the opposition parties who are criticizing the move.
पार्लियामेंट में कोई गड़बड़ी तो है नहीं, इसलिए बनता, लेकिन लोगों के जान के कॉस्ट पे नहीं उस तरह के प्रोजेक्ट में पैसा लगना चाहिए। अभी तो हेल्थ केयर में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा पैसा लगा के देशवासियों का जान बचाने में सरकार की प्राथमिकता होनी चाहिए।
पता नहीं क्या सोच है और क्या समझ है, कौन से आसमान पे रह रहे हैं ये लोग। सिर्फ इसमें सीमेंट गाढ़ा और छड़ नहीं पड़ेगा, इंसानी खून शामिल होगा। वैसी इमारत का हम क्या करेंगे? दुनिया में कोई ऐसा मुल्क नहीं होगा जो आज के दौर में इतना अनैतिक और अरुचिकर काम कर रहा हो। प्राथमिकताएं क्या है सरकार की?
But engineers, workers and contractors we spoke to say the work will go on despite a migration of workers after Delhi imposed a curfew. They do concede though that it's not possible to adhere to social distancing norms. To push ahead with a vanity project at a time when the capital is reeling under a pandemic speaks to the government's confidence that it can ride out the backlash. Whether that confidence is merited remains to be seen. With camera person Sanjay Kaushik, Sunil Prabhu, NDTV.
And it happened in Uttarakhand again, where the administration finally then imposed a curfew in Haridwar on the 28th of April. This comes hours after the last Shahi Snan, or royal dip at the Haridwar Kumbh was held. Around 100 Ragi Akhada Sadhus took a snan. Ordinary 40 to 50 lakh people would have participated in the snan. The smaller symbolic snan follows the PM's call earlier this month to take the Kumbh symbolically in light of the COVID figures.